Hey, what's up? Silas here. And in this video, I'm going to Afro-explain or black solve white genocide. I'm going to start doing this. I might have more points to actually come out and discuss. If you haven't seen my video on Dear White Genocide, You Do Not Exist, and I think I did a follow-up video kind of talking about the white genocide thing. This is a thing that I've seen a lot of people in the West, okay, not a lot, a significant amount of people in the West. Some of them have gone to race realism, where race realism is saying, yes, we completely acknowledge the difference in races, and advocating in cases for separation of races depending on how you define these races. Now, this has been a very strong reality in black culture in other countries in the world. Like you'll see somewhere like Japan. And again, now when you talk about races, are Japanese a different race than the Chinese? Because the Japanese will have a situation where they just don't let anybody else into the country besides Japanese. I think the country is 95% Japanese, and then that 4.6% will be Asians from maybe Orientals from China and Korea and things like that, and then they'll have a very small number of non-actual Asiatic Oriental peoples. So when it comes to that point, that is an ethno-state. Talk to someone like North Korea, of course, that place is like 99.99999%. Now you come to somewhere like Kenya, they also have a lot of Negro people, Negroid tribes, yet the tribes are very distinct. The cultures are different, the languages are different, the foods they eat are different, the kind of ways they worship and behave are rather different, where you can get to a point where it might even be more distinct within that one country, within the tribes. At least it is as distinct as it is when you go to like Belgium versus Denmark versus the Netherlands, the different cultures and the peoples. And then even when you go to Europe and those places, you go to those places, like at least this is my experience from Italy, you go to Sicilia, you go to Turin and Turinese out there, and the peoples are very different. They can hear you speak Italian, even goes to the point where even the dialect of Italian that you use is different. But anyway, digressing. Back to the point. How will most people, unless currently right now, this is 2018 when I'm saying this, unless you are a South African farmer that is white, as a Boer, this is step one to solving white genocide for you here, because I think white culture, Western culture has given a lot to me, so I want to give back to some of you out there. And I think part of this giving a lot to me is in this solution is if you truly believe there is this white genocide in the West and you haven't done this yet, identify a white mate of the opposite sex from you. Find that mate, be good enough for that mate to allow you to mate with them, and then have at least 2.1 children. And there already is step one of solving white genocide in 99% of the situations in the world that I hear people referring to as white genocide. Just doing that. Find a mate, be good enough for that mate, mate with that mate, create at least 2.1 children, and there, you're solving white genocide. Now, I see this because, as I mentioned before, a lot of these race realist peoples, at least the ones I've seen, in many cases, some of them will be married to. I've seen at least three situations I can just think of offhand of people who speak about race realism. They may not go out and advocate so much like, hey, we need to have the races separately. But I have seen situations of people who are race realists who would, I think, be more in the alt-right, admittedly, and say, yes, we need to look out for the white culture, white peoples. And they are with an Asian female. One of them, two of them I can think of actually reproduced with said Asian female, said Oriental female. And then I've seen a lot of them who are of age, who are in their 20s, in their 30s, and just aren't even married. Let alone not reproducing. They aren't married. So in 99.9% of the situations I hear being referred to as white genocide, I think the simple thing of just having more children could solve this situation. Now, I think there's many reasons why this isn't happening. There's struggles in the societies, things like socialism. These countries have become welfare states, welfare warfare states, where there's this fear of something going on, and then I think some people have gone on to the fear of this other invasion by these peoples from other places. They're talking about demographic replacement, but demographic replacement is the main thing that's going on here. That is the main thing of an issue, where it happens to be certain cultures, certain peoples are reproducing at a lot higher rate than white people. Now, I think this is not going to stay for. It's not going to stay the course. It's kind of like when you talk about the global warming, people say, oh, if the trends continue, let's say the figures are even right, because they're not, but they say if the trends continue, in 50 years, the globe will be 2.7 degrees warmer. But first of all, the trends aren't right. And then second of all, why would the trends continue? Who says the trend's going to continue for 100 years? Same thing with the reproduction. People say, oh, Africa is going to double its population in the next 50 years. I don't think that's going to happen. First of all, the structures, the fiat currency, the way the governments are organized, this artificial globalization and moving of peoples around, these artificial incentives, they can't last. When people become more civilized, when the education system becomes better, the fewer kids you have actually can actually generate enough income, enough wealth, enough support for you when you get older, then it's actually more of a cost to have more kids because that drains more of your money when you're alive. And it's just enough people are going to start saying like, hey, why are we having 8 kids? I already see situations where even families that leave developing nations, leave Africa. One family in particular, I talked to somebody. His family actually left Somalia as a refugee. They went to, I think, the Netherlands or Denmark or something. They had 8 kids. His parents' family had 8 kids, but he hasn't even had kids yet. He's in his late 30s. He was thinking, yeah, maybe 2 kids tops, if that. So it gets that situation. I think a lot of that's going to happen. These things that kind of trickle down, culture things that kind of go down. Even within the cities themselves, a lot of the youth in the countryside areas are moving to the actual city areas, and then when they move to the more urban areas, they kind of have fewer kids because lower infant fertility rate, higher cost of actually managing the children in that situation. A lot of situations of having kids, it's like, say what this thing in Greece, they said like you change your kids diapers so they can change yours when you're older. I think it's an old saying, but that general thing is part of why people had so many kids. You're not going to be in the situation where, like in the past, even in Europe, people used to have so many kids because you could just sell your kids off. You needed your kids to be doing random work here and there. But now that you can't do that, that changed. The rest of the world is behind Europe in certain situations. Okay, so again, step one is find a white mate, mate with such mate, mate with said mate with said mate, have at least 2.1 kids. That's it for now. I'll try to do more of these. Let me know what you guys think. Um, Let me know why you think, besides, I personally think it's more of like a hangover from the world wars. It's part of why the Western cultures have gone to this kind of situations that they're in right now. And that's completely unresearched, just from anecdotal evidence and just some things I've been thinking about together. Let me know why you think that white people in the West, white people, seem to be having more children during wartime. No, actually, this is one thing I need to check. I need to check, were white people having more kids during world wars than they're having now? And I think the growth of the state is a big part of this. Apex predators out there really putting people in a form of stress. But anyway, okay, so that's it for now. Like, share, and subscribe. Goodbye. Okay, so I'm going to add that I'm not advocating just have kids for the sake of kids, even though I think having kids in general is arguably more positive than not having kids, just because you're continuing life. And life is an amazing thing. If you're not directly actively trying to commit suicide, you probably agree somehow that living is better than dying. So continuing the whole process of your genes living by reproducing is kind of more towards the positive things that you expect out of life. But one thing I said earlier while I was saying this step of having kids is one thing that I've been very thankful from Western society, is because I was born in France and moved to Kenya, then moved to the United States of America. Then I've lived in Italy. So I've lived along white people for a significant amount of my life, white children and things like that. And they were great to me. And in general, most of the kids were great to me. Just like I've gone into most places, I think most places, most people are good. So I've experienced living around white kids, and they were just, some of them were good kids, some of them I guess had issues, some of them they were just people. So I'm wondering, why is it about white culture that white peoples in general, why do they have the dropping birth rate? And as I said, it's not necessarily a thing of, oh, it's such a dropping birth rate compared to these other ones. I think these other cultures and other races are kind of behind the times. If you look at a place like China had that one child rule for so long. They're even ahead of the curve in Britain, white cultures. In white cultures, they were actually like, yeah, this is just happening naturally not naturally, unnaturally due to the growth of the state and things like that, but it wasn't something advocated by the state. Although technically it's kind of a side effect of the things that the white people were voting for in their states, kind of led to them thinking having kids is not as positive of a thing. And definitely, if you have kids, I think look into peaceful parenting, because also how you raise those kids, quality over quantity. Raising one peacefully parented kid, I think, is a lot more positive than having 20 children that you don't really care for and things like that. But most of you in the world listening to this right now are likely in a situation where in 1 or 2 years you can actually put yourself in a positive enough situation to support and raise children peacefully. So if you've been thinking, oh, kids are not for me for whatever reason, maybe you had an adverse childhood, maybe you have other considerations, you're saying it's too expensive, it's too this and this. If you wanted to have kids, there are ways for you to do it and have that kid have a really great life. And check out my series on peaceful parenting. This is actually ending up to be a lot longer of a video than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to start doing these nice little short 5-minute kind of things. But anyway, I think we're up to the 10-minute mark. I'll try to keep it under that for that. Like, share, and subscribe. Check that out. More on this topic soon. Goodbye.